Hey everyone, thanks for stopping back by the channel. It's still cold here in Virginia, as you can tell with the stocking cap on. I was hoping to get the old boat out here in the last few days, but that's just not been warm enough. We stopped by the lake today, just a little skim of ice around the edge. A little too cold still. You have to get out there and get some January bass, but hopefully I get out there real soon. But hey, this time of year when I can't get out fishing, I like to do something that I started last winter, and it's called my Fish Chatter series. And that's where we get to go out and talk to other YouTube fishermen from around the nation. One of the great things about YouTubing is you get to meet a lot of great folks across the United States doing great things and different things. So today's episode will be James from Cranking and Yanking. He's down in Northeast Louisiana, fishes from a different type of boat, a little different from most of us fishing, but it's pretty unique. So I hope you enjoy the interview. And oh, by the way, a new sponsor here at Shane Flynn Outdoors is going to be incorporated in this new intro. I hope you enjoy.
Shane Flynn Outdoors, brought to you by Bent Rod Fishing. Get bent, stay bent.
What a big girl!
Well, hey everybody, welcome James to our Fish Chatter edition for 2022-23. This is the first interview for the what I call the winter cycle for us out here in Virginia. So James, we'll get started. Why don't you tell us a little about you and a little bit about your YouTube channel?
Well, I am from Northwest Louisiana, just on the border of Texas. You drive about probably 10 miles and you'll be in Texas from Shreveport. My YouTube channel, honestly, I started that channel as more of a vehicle to make fun of Bubba and Buck more than anything else, to be honest with you. I started that channel because I knew that Buck had a channel, him and Bubba, and it looked like they were having a good time with it. And I said, well, let me start one and just give them something to reflect off of, or give me something to reflect off of. And we did that for a little while, not so much anymore, but it's turned into more of a hobby than anything else. I'm not here to make money off of YouTube. I enjoy editing videos. I've always, even before YouTube existed, I've always edited videos. I've always done a lot of photo editing, that kind of stuff. And I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. So YouTube's right up my alley, I guess.
Yeah. I've seen some of your editing, James. You do some good stuff. I don't mind editing, but I don't have the creativity that you and like John from Small Water Charters has. I mean, that's part of it's probably I just don't take the time, but you do some great editing.
A lot of it has to do with the software that you use.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. What do you use?
I use a program called Power Director.
Oh, okay.
It's put out by Cyberlink, and probably the reason I use it is it's the first one I ever used. I bought a capture card way back 25 years ago. Card went inside the computer, and you could hook up a VCR to it. You could hook up audio video jacks to the back of it, and you could take. And the reason I bought it was because I had a bunch of old VHS tapes that I wanted to convert to digital format. Bunch of old home movies from, my mom, dad, family. So I got all that stuff converted, but that software came with a program called Power Director. Which was the first thing I used, and then just kind of stayed with it since then. It's a very easy program to use. Now they're out with the Power Director 365, which has a monthly subscription like everybody else is going to now, but I still use it.
Yeah. When you start, it sounds like you have history with it. When I started my YouTube channel about a year and a half ago, I just kind of rolled the dice and said, I'll try that one.
Right.
But once you commit, you want to get all the graphics and everything. You start paying, and you're like, well, I'm not going to change now. And you learn the program. So James, you've got some I'm familiar with your part of the country. I grew up in southeast Oklahoma, not too far from where you're at, probably an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. You got some great lakes in your area. I mean, I know Toledo Bend's probably south of you, right? I mean,
Yes, sir.
that's a great body of water. And then there's just that area of Texas, Louisiana. There's great places to fish everywhere.
It is. They call, I think, Louisiana Sportsman's Paradise,
Yep.
and it got that name for a reason. I've been on Toledo Bend probably 10 times in my life. I could drive, I think it's probably 50 miles, 40 miles to the nearest boat ramp. There's a little boat ramp called Circle Drive.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in the Manny, Louisiana. But I rarely fish Toledo Bend.
Yeah. It's
Honestly,
a big body of water. It's
it
big.
is, and it
Yeah.
gets rough.
Yeah.
I was on Toledo Bend with my brother-in-law. We were fishing out of his daddy's boat, and we got probably 20 yards from the boat ramp. And where the boat ramp is, it's calm. There's kind of a levee on both sides of it. But when you get out to the main lake, it was rough. And wind picked us up, set us on a stump, and we couldn't get off of it. It knocked a hole in the boat and kind of just held us there while we were filling up with water. So we sat and turned the bilge pump on, of course, and finally it let us off. We managed to get the boat back up. We had to pull up on the bank, let the bilge pump drain the water out because the boat was so heavy we couldn't pull it out the first time we tried. Yeah, it was kind of scary for a minute, but I don't fish that lake mainly for that reason. I don't have a big boat, and it's not somewhere I'm going to go.
Yeah. So what's the lake that I see you fish on most? Now I don't want to get into. You got the secret pond back behind the house, but there's a lake you like to fish quite a bit. What lake is that?
That is Lake Merval,
Okay.
and it's about 45 minutes, maybe an hour from the house. And I started fishing that lake mainly because that's where my mom and dad live.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a little town called Stonewall, and we moved to Stonewall in probably 76. And I stayed there until last year when me and my wife bought this place. But mom and dad bought a camp house. When dad retired, they bought a camp house out on Lake Merval, which is in Carthage, Texas, or just a little west of Carthage, Texas, southwest. But it's a good lake.
Yeah.
There's a rumor, and I'm not 100% sure it's true, but they say when they stocked Lake Fork, they took bass out of Lake Merval to stock Lake Fork. So there are some trophy bass in that lake. Of course, I ain't caught none of them yet, but I know they're there.
Yeah. Yeah. Every lake in that area is got big bass in it. I've driven through Carthage, Texas. That's right. I mean, that is right. I mean, not far from Louisiana, right? You're right about. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I've driven through that little town.
I don't know if you know where Longview, Texas is.
Yeah, I do.
It's a little south of Longview,
Yeah.
southwest a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I said, from where I live, it's a 45-minute drive.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, James, you're talking about your boat. You just got a new type of fishing rig. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That boat it's made by Water Moccasin Outdoors. The Water Moccasin has been in business since I can remember. Anyway, they're built in Stonewall, where I grew up, and everybody in Stonewall had one. I know when you get outside of, probably 100-200 mile radius of Shreveport, a lot of people don't know what they are, but they're a Piro. You can buy just an empty hull, or you can buy one dressed out, or you can buy one that goes up to 2 men. They used to make one that had a transom on the back that you could put like a little 20 horse on.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them why they stopped, and they said they quit making the transom boats because they were having a hard time competing with the aluminum type John boats.
Yeah.
They may start that again because the price of aluminum's gone up, and bass trackers are a lot more now than they were 5 years ago.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So you've got a foot controlled trolling motor on the front of it, and it just looks like a good fishing rig.
It is. It's a little. This is about the fourth one I've had. The first two I had were just empty holes. You sit down in the bottom of it, paddle, kind of like a kayak. And then when you hook a fish, you get drug around for a little while.
Yeah.
I used to fish a lake out here called Wallace Lake. Wallace Lake, you either like it or you hate it. And back then there were 4 boat ramps on that lake, where today there's only one because Sylvania has pretty much taken over. And there's a lot of politics involved with that lake, because when it rains, it floods, and it floods people's golf course and a lot of other things. So they've kind of let it go. But I had a foot controlled water moccasin back then, and when I would work graveyard shift, I'd put that boat in the back of my truck, and when I got off of work, I would be on Wallace Lake almost every morning. So I got to know that lake real well, and I got to know the boat real well. So when I decided, when I sold my nitro, which I hated to do, but it had to be done, I was going to get something that I could fish out of again, that was not going to cost me an arm and a leg. And I could go to, maybe I can't go to Toledo Bend or places like Cross Lake that are big, wide open lakes, but I can go to Wallace Lake, or I can go to Lake Merval, to, certain places out there anyway. It's a fun little boat. It's safe. It's well made. I'm going to do a video on it. I didn't do much of a video when I had the first one. And another thing I'll say about them is their customer service. That first boat that I brought home, when I brought it home, it was fine. I fished out of it twice. And then I went out there and took the tarp off of it to go fishing one weekend. And I noticed the side rail was wavy. Yeah. And I said, well, what's going on there? So I called them, and they said, well, just bring it up here and let us look at it. And I threw it up in the truck, took it over there, and the guy said, yeah, we see that one in maybe every 200 boats. That resin, the fiberglass resin, didn't cure the way it was supposed to or something. And he said, just unload it and we'll make you another one.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's good customer service right there.
Right. So I unloaded it. I gave him another, I think it was an extra $125 I paid to have the one I've got now is a blue metal flake color. Mm-hmm. Lot better looking boat in my opinion, but I bought the first one because he had it there. Yeah. But I figured since I was going to wait, let me get something a little better.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Make it what you want. Yeah. So James, I know I've heard your PB, the big bass that you caught in your career, your fishing career. I don't know if that's the most epic fishing story you have, but why don't you share with us, like maybe your best day fishing, or what you would consider your epic day of fishing?
I would say that's a hard one. When I caught that bass, on Lake Merval, and it was probably the only bass I caught that day. It was middle of the summer. I was fishing with my brother-in-law at the time. And we had Dad had a little boathouse back then, and he had a little small Tide Craft, I think it was, and it had a hand-controlled trolling motor on it. And we just pulled out, and we were going up and down the bank, just flipping docks, throwing plastic worms at docks. And I hooked that fish, and brother-in-law, Bubba, of all names, got the net on it. And probably a good thing he was there. I probably wouldn't have caught that fish, but he was there, so I got it in the boat. We knew it was a big fish. We didn't have any scales. We didn't have anything in the boat to weigh it. So I put it in the live well, And we pulled back up to the house, got in the truck, took that fish down to probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles up the road. There was a little marina, and went in and weighed it. The guy said it weighed 9 pounds even. And I said, well, that's probably going to be the only 9-pound bass I'm ever going to catch. So I'm going to have it mounted. And I did. And that's the one that's hanging on the wall now. And I haven't caught a 9-pound bass since. I'm still looking for one, but I ain't found him yet. As far as my epic day of fishing would probably be one day out at Pine Island Pond. I actually met Bubba and Buck, and we were having a little contest. I had me and Bobo. I don't know if you ever seen him in my videos, but he works out there with me. And we went out to Caddo Lake State Park, and there's a place out there called Pine Island Pond, which is where you put in at State Park is a river, the Big Cypress River. Drive around probably 4 miles down to where Pine Island Pond is. The river's real muddy, but if you get back up in Pine Island, the water is clear. And we got back there. It was little post spawn. Some of the fish were probably still spawning. But we got back in there in one little spot, man, and we tore them up. I've had a lot of days like that, but these were bigger fish. I caught a 6-pound bass, I believe, 5.5, 6 pounds, and on 2 more casts to the same spot, I caught a 7.
Wow.
And caught several, 3s out there that day. It was a fun day.
Yeah. Yeah. The days where you get not just numbers, but when you get those quality bass, 5 pounds and over, they usually cement your mind a little bit. So that's a great day of fishing. It's a great day of fishing, just getting out there and fishing. But when you get to 5, 6, 7 pounders and several, it's an amazing day.
When I first moved in this place, the pond back there in the back, there's an HOA out here. So the HOA president come over there and he saw me out there fishing, come out there and talk for a little while. And he's told me his daughter caught a 13-pound bass out of that pond.
Whoa.
Yes, sir. That's what I said. And his daughter's, I don't know, she's 9, 10 years old. She's little. And I said, okay, well, that means there's some big fish in here. And I have fished that pond 2 or 3 times a day since. And I ain't caught nothing over 3 out of there yet. So
yeah, I've seen a lot of the action on the pond.
I'm a little skeptical about that 13 pounds.
Yeah. Well, hey, James, I really appreciate you spending some time with me and talking about fishing and talking about there in Louisiana. I know you're in Sportsman's Paradise. You got some great areas to fish in. I'm looking forward to seeing more from the P-Row. I'm hoping that we see a lot more action coming soon on fishing off the P-Row.
Oh, yeah. I'll be back out. Actually, I considered going out today because I think it's supposed to rain tomorrow.
Closing here. Well, hey, James, thanks again for taking the time and doing the interview with me. I wish you luck on the next few days of fishing if you get out. And if I don't get to talk to you before the holidays, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you and yours, and hope Santa Claus brings you something nice for put in your tackle box.
Appreciate that, Shane, and I wish the same for you and your family.
All right.